Hello and welcome back to No Bullshit. Today we return to talking about the Battlefield 5 video game. Previously we both covered the trailer's premiere, which was mired in controversy over the lack of historical accuracy and the fact that EA and DICE were shoving their feminism down our throats once again. Then later we covered the Angry Joe controversy over the game, when he was caught defending Battlefield 5 a few weeks back, even going so far as to explain away some of its faults and failings. And well, now, the game is finally out in a beta release on all platforms, and it looks like Battlefield 5 didn't learn its lesson either. Despite getting railed in the media and public for going to SJW, EA has still decided to heavily monitor its in-game chat, like it's some kind of safe space or something, and you're never gonna guess what words are being banned from there either. White man is currently getting censored, and, as expected, many are none too pleased about it. I'm sure this wouldn't fly if it was black man or Asian lady, but hey, screw white people, am I right? Even Angry Joe, the YouTuber I mentioned before, even he can't deny how messed up this bullcrap is. Check out this clip of Joe reacting to the censorship of white man.
Okay, I've been wanting to try this. Ready? White man.
Objective data has been lost.
Now, if you can get past Joe's annoyingly fake laugh, he's actually making a pretty funny reveal here. In the top left corner, Angry Hefe typed white man, which was immediately censored into stars for letters. What gives, EA? DICE? I know this studio is in the regressive SJW-ridden Sweden, but damn dude, they're going so far as to ban white man now. That's not only weird and strange, it's kinda messed up too.
Asian man.
Fortify your position. Prepare to defend the sector.
What's
Brown
legit?
man.
Oh.
White man.
Oh my god, I'm looking at chat.
Jesus, Joe, get a grip. It's not that funny, old man, but I am glad he at least provided some proof for this. Next, Joe typed in Asian man and brown man, which went through the chat fine, but when he tried to type white man again, it was censored again. What the funk? Why is white man a bad word anyway? What's going on here? Well, that's kinda hard to say with much certainty, but we can sure make some conclusions, and from there some pretty safe assumptions. What's clear is EA and DICE have an agenda with this new game. They weren't going for an historical crowd pleaser game like they had previously with something like Battlefield 1. No, Battlefield 5 threw out the baby with the bathwater when they chose to ditch historical accuracy in their first trailer, opting for the pushing of a handless, handicapped woman being put on the front lines of war, beating up Nazis with a cricket bat. Not kidding, this is actually how ridiculous that first trailer looked. Check out this clip again for a refresher course.
Fuck it! Hello, old friend.
And there you have it. That's your player character getting saved by a British feminist with a claw for a hand. Not only that, she's also wielding a melee weapon in close-quartered armored World War II combat. So needless to say, people were a bit shook by this new progressive agenda here. And judging by the likes to dislikes of this video, the people weren't a fan of this new direction either. That's why this trailer got over 300,000 dislikes. But instead of course correcting or trying to fix this in any way possible, Battlefield 5 instead decided to double down in true social justice warrior fashion. This led to the game makers defending their questionable decisions, even going so far as to attack the fans, blaming them for this backlash. Then one developer even did the bold move of telling the fans, hey, if you don't like it, don't buy the game. And well, we all promptly listened to him, refusing to give our hard-earned money to this anti-white SJW racist. And this is what led to the bad pre-sales for Battlefield 5, which also led to Angry Joe defending the game as I went over before. And now we're led all the way back up to this beta test happening now, which has white men banned from the chat. And having gone over this more thorough and detailed recap now, I think we can see where EA is going with this. Much like how they replaced white men with handless women in the trailer and in the gameplay, they are also straight up banning the phrase white man from the in-game chat. It's almost like they're trying to rewrite history here too, kinda like how Netflix did with the Witcher series in yesterday's video. But to be more precise, Battlefield 5 is trying to water down and dilute white men from its games, and its online arenas as well. That's why they're pushing for more female and minority characters, and that's why they're straight up banning the word white man from chats. It's because they're obviously regressive leftists who hate white men, and more accurately, they're jealous of us and our long, storied, successful histories around the world. In this case, we're talking about winning World War II, which was done by white men. And sure, whites fought on both sides, but in general, you could easily say it was the Americans, the British, and the Russians who won the war, the white nations, who, let's be honest, most of their armies were like 99% white men. And that's where the problems pop up for the regressives at EA and DICE. They needed to make this new Battlefield game, and it needed to be set in World War II to be worth a damn, so they had a problem to solve in their leftist heads. And like I said before, they hate whites, particularly white men, so there was no way in 2018 they would come out with a game that has 90% of its characters being white men, much like how the war actually played out. And that's why they decided to force in women and the handicapped, because they desperately wanted to dilute the majority whiteness of this. And the way this was handled obviously pissed off the fan base, but the game makers are too dense and dumb and riddled with white guilt to change anything. And I'm willing to bet that's another reason they banned white men from their chat too. It was just because they wanted less white men in their game, and they also wanted to suppress the chatter when people inevitably commented about that. I'm sure people would be chatting things right away, saying something like, where are all the white men? Why can't I be a white man? And what's wrong with white men? All of those questions are totally fair and likely to pop up here right away, but EA wanted to squash that dissent right out the gate before it could even happen, and that's why they censored their chat. Next, for more on this banning of white men from chat, I want to turn to an email from the Battlefield team, which they sent out following this controversy. Let's take a look. We're really excited to have you join us for the Battlefield 5 open beta, and we hope you're enjoying the beta and the new features. One of the new features we're working on is a profanity filter in-game to reduce toxicity. The toxicity of our city, of our city. That's a System of a Down song. Anyway, that being said, we have heard some complaints that the filter is blocking words that aren't profanity or shouldn't be blocked, like DLC, etc. And is it blocking some words that should be? Please note, this is a work in progress, and we will be taking this feedback to tweak the sensitivity of the filter and improve its usage without censoring relevant conversation. Healthy discussion is what drives improvement in our games, and we never want to impede that. Thanks for bringing your concerns to us regarding this current iteration of the profanity filter, and we'll keep working on it. The teams at EA and DICE. Reducing toxicity, you say? Sounds like Battlefield 5 is trying to make its own little safe space here. I guess this is what happens when your whole country is on a soy-based diet. Poor Sweden. Too cucked up to even let its kids swear in their video games now. How sad. Now sure, you can blow someone's head off with a bazooka or stab them in the penis with a Bowie knife, but let's make sure our kids don't swear, okay? That's just one bridge too far. But really, I can't believe no one at EA or DICE saw how stupid this was. Like really? A profanity filter to reduce toxicity sounds so goddamn lame. Sure, I can understand banning a few curse words or something, not that big a deal, but why was white man banned then? They might be implying it was a mistake here, but I don't know if I'm buying that. Seems pretty deliberate to me. And if that part was a mistake, you'd think they'd be able to correct it pretty quickly. A simple email to the filter's manager should clear that up in a few minutes, but no, white men are still banned because that's part of the game maker's agenda. And by the way, I heard this game wasn't really that great anyway. Sounds pretty boring to me, quite frankly, but I'm also not a big first-person shooter online guy. But I've heard from people who are, and they're saying it's just more generic World War II shooter bullcrap. Battlefield 5 is nothing special, clearly, and it's obviously nothing worth putting up with all this trouble over either. Like maybe if the Spider-Man PS4 game creators were SJWs, God forbid, but maybe I might still buy the game because it's one of a kind and it looks so goddamn cool. But with Battlefield 5, this is a lame duck. It's already been done and it's a played out genre as well. So the creators really do have some balls to think they can push the progressive politics here while peddling this low, below average, been done to death kind of game. In my opinion, no one should be buying or supporting this nonsense, especially if you're a white man like me. Not to get too tribal or territorial or anything, but it really appears DICE and EA started this. They're the ones rewriting history, diluting the white man's accomplishments by pretending it was gay girls with robot arms who won the war. It wasn't. It was God-fearing, America-loving patriots who were mostly white men, and there's nothing wrong with that. We're the people who won World War II and saved the world from the wrath of Hitler and the highly imperial Japanese. We, along with our allies, won the war, but now, 70-something years later, and the creators at Battlefield 5 want to take that away from us. They're so wrapped up in leftist politics and in socialism and communism and social justice warrior bullshit that the whole country of Sweden is riddled with white guilt now, much like what's happened to many liberals in America, many of which are probably working at EA. EA is based in California after all, and this is why the teams at EA and DICE are failing, and this is why Battlefield 5 is failing too. So I hope no one buys or supports that game at this point. It's beyond repair, and there's just too many other decent companies making games out there who deserve our money. Buy the Doom game, for example, or the new Doom Eternal coming out later this year, or buy Kingdom Come Deliverance or Far Cry 5. We gotta support games like these by companies who cater to us and appreciate our business. And most of all, we must all boycott and protest protest and give $0 to companies who don't like us, like EA and DICE. Now, before we go, there's one more related story coming from EA this week. In case you were wondering whether or not they were total scumbags after this Battlefield 5 controversy, well, now EA is making an even bigger dick of itself in Belgium. That country recently declared loot boxes in games as a form of gambling, which led to Belgium banning loot boxes altogether. And I think this is a bold move and a much needed pushback on the recent loot box and microtransaction trend. For those who don't know, microtransactions are little extra charges in a game. Usually you're buying an in-game outfit or feature, like say paying $5 to get an extra Spider-Man suit or something. Next, what loot boxes do is they basically are a microtransaction where you buy a box, but you don't know what's in it until you pay. Sometimes you get something silly and useless, and other times you get a cool new weapon or something cool and worthwhile. It's kind of like rolling the dice, and that's why many consider loot boxes gambling, like how they did in the country of Belgium. And this brings us back to the EA investigation there. So for more details, let's look at a quick article from Variety called EA Under Investigation in Belgium Over FIFA Loot Boxes. Video game publisher Electronic Arts is in trouble with Belgium government for its use of loot boxes in the FIFA franchise, according to the Dutch paper Metro. The Brussels Public Prosecutor's Office is conducting a criminal investigation into the company, Metro reports. Earlier this year, the Belgium Gaming Commission decided many forms of loot boxes in video games are illegal gambling because players don't exactly know what virtual items they're getting when they buy them. The BGC suggested games with loot boxes should include the odds of winning and a clear warning label that they contain gambling. Publishers who don't comply with the new law could potentially face criminal prosecution. While companies like Valve and 2K Games have already complied, EA apparently has not. People can still buy loot boxes in FIFA 18, Metro said, and FIFA 19 will have them as well when it launches later this month. So basically, EA is saying screw you guys, we're doing loot boxes anyway, a clear defiance of the request of the Belgian people. And this makes sense too, since EA is making hundreds of millions of dollars from loot boxes, so it looks like they're going to stick with them at all costs. Kind of a dick move though, and I hope the Belgium investigation sticks and EA gets fined or punished or something. Those greedy losers over there need a reality check, and I personally think microtransactions and loot boxes are bullshit. Sure, I don't mind buying some downloadable content once in a while. Sometimes they have really good extra content that's worth the money, and I don't even mind having other microtransactions as options for other people who do like them. But in my opinion, companies like EA are just getting too greedy and over the top with it, to the point at which it's ruining their games even. Star Wars Battlefront 2 is a great example that comes to mind. That's another EA game that faced another controversy just last year. Back then, EA was trying to pull this same money-grubbing microtransaction bullshit right out the gate, and the fan backlash got so bad on that, Disney had to step in and make EA remove microtransactions from Star Wars altogether. But I guess they have a short memory over there, because now, less than a year later, and EA is back to its same bullshit. In the end, Electronic Arts is just a completely lost company to me. They're a greedy corporate pro-social justice warrior mess, which I'm not sure if I'll ever deal with again. And I almost forgot about that Star Wars Battlefront drama too, until this last section of the story brought it up. So firstly, EA was destroying Star Wars games last year, and now this year they're blowing it with Battlefield 5, rewriting World War II history and diluting white men every chance they can get. Plus they're also under a criminal investigation in Belgium for trying to force gambling onto their children. Jesus Christ, EA, it's time to get your shit together. What do you guys think? Was EA banning white men from chat part of their racist attack on us, coming from their crippling white guilt? And was them refusing to listen to the demands of Belgium wrong and illegal? And what do you think about EA ruining Star Wars games as well? Comment your thoughts on everything below, and thanks for watching No Bullshit. See y'all next time.